Dear listeners, welcome to session 5. In the previous session, we were exactly at the scene where Vishwamitra he comes to visit Dashratha, and we went through Vishwamitra's backstory. So let's resume back exactly where we left off. So as soon as Dashratha hears the fact that Vishwamitra has come, uh, he starts. He immediately, receives him and greets him into the palace, makes him sit beside his throne, and he starts speaking great words about him. And he calls him a god, and he says that Dashratha claims that it is his great fortune that Vishwamitra has actually come to visit him in flesh and blood. And Vishwamitra waits as Dashratha keeps speaking about him and keeps praising him. And Dashratha repeats that, whatever Vishwamitra has come for, whatever he wants, he will be ready to give it. And he promises him that. And this is a very big thing for someone to make a promise. Um, Back in Treta Yoga, it is equivalent of perhaps signing a bond paper today. So once you make a promise, you cannot go back, especially as a king. It is very tough. And then, after a long dialogue, a monologue by Dashratha, Vishwamitra then starts speaking that he says, Dashratha, you are born in an illustrious family, great lineage, and your guru is none other than Vashishta himself. So I expect nothing less than the way you have just spoken to me. And then he says that I will tell you the purpose why I have come here. And he says, listen carefully and take a decision and be truthful to your promise, right? So he then starts describing that he has taken up a yagna or a sacrifice, and he's under a in a certain he's taking up this yagna for the good of the entire world. Somehow, two rakshasas who are capable of changing their form into anything, they are continuously creating problems and ensuring that the sacrifice doesn't happen. And he says that these two rakshasas are called Maricha and Subahu. Um, and currently, he also mentions that currently my mind doesn't permit me to, uh, punish these rakshasas myself. And even the nature of the yagna that I have taken up right now, it it means that I should not indulge in any sort of activities, even if it means punishing Rakshasas. So then he says that Dashratha, in order to ensure that my sacrifice and my yajna goes on well, I want you to send your eldest son Rama with me. Okay. And he doesn't stop there. He doesn't allow Dashratha to interrupt. He immediately continues saying that don't worry that you are sending him. The both the Rakshasas, Maricha and Subahu, will not be able to counter Rama in any manner. I will ensure this. I will make sure that uh, he will attain the right fame that he is supposed to attain in all the three worlds. And I also wish for his well-being. And he assures Dashratha that Rama is not an ordinary boy. You don't know who he is, but I know, and Vashishta also knows. And with this, he says, "Please send your son, who is uh, who is the right guy for this job." Then Vishwamitra again sits silently. So, after hearing this, Dasharatha is completely taken aback. He is shocked. His heart is broken, and he's very upset. He says, "My son Rama is not even 16. I don't think he can fight these Rakshasas in a battle." And And then so this is like just few minutes ago, this is the same Dasharatha who said that Vishwamitra is no less than God, and whatever he says is like a God's words for him. And now, the moment it came to his own son, he could not take it. We are talking about Dasharatha, who is so righteous, and he himself was thinking of going back on his promise. Such was his attachment to Rama. And then he asks, who are these Maricha and Subahu? And then Vishwamitra says that Ravana, who is he's the king of Rakshasas right now, or he, under his control, Maricha and Subahu are operating, and they are creating these obstacles. After hearing this, Dasharatha further says that until now I thought I should come and help you, but after hearing this, even I am myself, I am not capable of standing and beating these Rakshasas who work for Ravana. He says the gods, the Gandharvas, the Yakshas, these are all different species back then. The great serpent kings, they all cannot fight Ravana. So I am just a man. We are just men. What can we do? So this is again the great Dashratha talking, who has actually fought with Indra and defeated many asuras himself. And he then says, "On there is no way I'm going to send my son." So he's directly going back on his promise. He says, then Vishwamitra says, "Okay, if you feel that what you're doing is appropriate to you, then I will go back to where I came from, and you live happily." And he starts leaving. Vashishta immediately intervenes, and he takes Dashratha to the side, and he mentions that, "Don't do this, Dashratha. I promise that a king makes, and if you don't keep it, no matter how much good do you do in your life, not keeping up to a promise will cancel off all the good that you have done." So this comes as a hard hitting moment when we hear this, and it's a chance for us to reflect back on uh, promises that we make as well. And Vashishta then continues and says, "Please send Rama." And he then says, "I know Vishwamitra very well. Vishwamitra knows the use of every kind of weapon, which no other Maharshi knows." If you remember Vishwamitra's backstory in the previous session, from Lord Shiva himself, Vishwamitra has learned all the weaponry, mastery of all the weapons. So he is capable of defeating those Rakshasas all by himself. But the reason he's asking to send Rama is so because he wants to teach all these things to Rama. And he explains him very sweetly, and Dashratha cannot go against what Vashishta says. So he gives the nod for Rama to leave, and he calls Rama. He says, "Rama, you have to go with Vishwamitra Maharshi here. They are going to take you at a place. You have to help them um, guard their yagna, their sacrifice place properly." And Rama takes the blessings of his father and Vashishta and leaves with Vishwamitra. Lakshmana is like Rama's shadow. Vishwamitra never mentions that he wants to take Lakshmana as well, but when Lakshmana starts leaving with Rama, there is no doubt in anyone's mind. No one questions it, neither Vishwamitra nor Dasharatha, nor because these two are totally inseparable. And so then they both start traveling by foot. Um, After a while, Vishwamitra is so happy by the conduct of these two princes, because in their entire life, perhaps they've never left the palace and walked on barefoot. Uh, uh, all this while, I mean, they must be traveling in chariots or elephants or horses, but without complaining, these two boys who are barely not even 16, uh, they are following him. And after reaching, the bank of Sarayu, Vishwamitra says that, Rama, please sit down. I am going to give you a collection of mantras. And by receiving this, you will ensure that you will no longer experience any sort of fatigue, any sort of discomfort, weakness, no fever, and your appearance will always be resplendent and glowing the way you are right now. And you will never feel agitated in sleep. And he calls them Bala and Atibala. This is mentioned as a month collection of mantras, and it is also in the book. It is mentioned as a specific science. Um, so he asks Rama and obviously Lakshmana as well. He gives them both. He says that if you keep on reciting these in a particular manner, and if you follow certain practices, then you will not feel hunger and thirst also during the time of battle. And with a very happy face, both Rama and Lakshmana accept this blessing from Vishwamitra. So here we end session 5.